Welcome to Sew with Mrs. Herbert. This is episode 8. As a review, in episodes 3 through 7, we learned 2 basic sewing skills: how to make a casing and how to make a 1-inch hem. The next skill I'd like you to learn is how to make a facing, and here's an example of a facing sewn onto the front of an apron, and how to turn that into a casing. So here it's been folded to the wrong side. So this is an apron pattern that I chose specifically to be able to teach you the facing, the casing, and then a patch pocket. In this episode, we'll talk about pattern selection, including looking at the front and back of our pattern envelope, fabric and its preparation, and the tools we'll need for this project. Then I'll give you a quick preview of the next 2 projects we'll be making in case you want to plan ahead. So let's begin. You can see I've enlarged a picture of this pattern, but I want you to be able to see how I figured out this is the pattern we needed. So I'm going to show you the pattern book. We've looked at it in a previous episode, and this is the one I selected. Now, I've told you before that the views there's illustrations on the side, and that's what I had to look at very, very carefully. I wanted to make sure there was a facing turned into a casing right here. And on the picture, I could see a line of stitching right here. Now the girl's hand are in the way, so I couldn't see it there, but I could barely see it here. And as I said, looking at this little teeny tiny diagram that I'm circling, I can see that line of sewing. Now, when I look at this apron, I see that the line is closer to the line of sewing right on this curve, is right next to the edge. So there's not room for there to be a casing for your tie to go through. So that was a hint to me that that was not what I was looking for. And also the way they show the tie around the neck. You can tell right here and here, it's attached. So it's this one, the tie goes from behind through there, around the neck and back. So this was the only pattern in the entire section of crafts that had this type of apron. Again, I can look over here. It shows an illustration of the back. The tie is just connected to the 2 sides. The neck is just connected here. So that wouldn't be teaching you any new skills. So that's why I chose this particular pattern. Okay, so when you're looking through the book, look for something that shows that you have a casing and a facing. All right, now that you know what you're looking for, and this is the one I've selected, let's take a closer look. So I am making the child size, and if we look at this, it's like these are a lot of cute aprons, but again, this one has gathering, so that's a little bit more difficult skill. We'll do that later. And then this one, same gathering. So we'll wait on those. This one has just what we want. Now, on the top of the flap, we see the choices for sizes: boys, girls, children's. You've got small, medium, large, extra large. Or Mrs. Men's, you've got small, medium, large, extra large. I'm going to make the extra large child size because, again, I'm making this sample for a different granddaughter. All right, so we know we've learned about the front of the pattern. We've got the brand name, so it's Simplicity. Here's the pattern number. When we go into the file drawers to select the pattern, we're looking for S9301. Now, this is the year 2025 as I filmed this, but years down the line, they probably won't have this exact pattern number, but you'll be able to find a pattern that has this kind of design. Matter of fact, this is what my students made back in the 1980s. It was just a different picture, different fabric, but the very same pattern. All right, let's look at the back of the envelope. We notice first then fabrics: cotton, cotton blends, calico, gingham, plaid, or stripe. Also for apron C, and that's what we're making, apron C. It says denim or twill. I looked seriously at denim, but the price per yard was out of my budget. So that's why I chose a cotton blend. But yes, denim would be really cute with this project. And then as we continue, extra fabric needed to match plaids, stripes, one-way designs. I'll show you that I'm using a solid fabric, so I'm not having to match plaids or stripes on the front of this. But I am going to make a sample later to show you how I was able to use contrasting fabric. Notions. We need thread, of course, a matching thread. And then for apron A, it tells you what you need. For apron B, it does not have any specific things for apron C, because here's apron D. So as long as I have fabric and thread, I'm in good shape. Now, how much fabric? For the child's extra large and the apron, I found fabric that is 45 inches wide. And I'll show you my fabric. It's this pretty purpley color, and my granddaughter loves purple. And I have matching thread, so the thread just blends in, it will disappear. So I've got 45-inch wide fabric, and I'm making size extra large, so I need 1 3/8 yards of fabric. Now again, as a review, we need to pre-shrink. And this is a cotton blend, so it said on the top of the bolt that it was to be washed in warm water and that it could be put in the dryer. So that's how I pre-treated this fabric. I still need to iron it, so get out all the wrinkles so that it'll be ready for episode 9, where we begin pinning our pattern onto the fabric. Let's talk about the sewing tools that we'll need. Just as before, we'll use our seam gauge, our seam ripper, our scissors, a tape measure, and our pins. In addition, we'll need to have some kind of marking tool to transfer the markings from the pattern onto the right side of the apron for our pocket placement. With that in mind, I thought I'd show you 3 different possibilities. Each one of these has its own specific definitions, and this one, it says right on it, please try with a piece of wasted cloth before use. With any of these, you want to test it out on a sample of fabric, on a scrap, and that's why they say that, to see if it comes out. So again, what I suggest is when you remove it from the package, turn the back over it, take a picture with this particular pen next to the instruction, so you've got that permanently. Same thing here. This is a different pen, different instructions, but have them side by side. Snap a picture with your phone so that you'll have those directions handy when you need them. So this one says water-soluble ink is removable with a damp cloth. So take your scrap of fabric, make a mark on it, dab it with a piece of paper towel, and a wet paper towel, I should say, and if it comes off easily on your fabric, great, you can use that. This is another one that also says double-sided. It's got 2 different marking pens, and it says gently rub with clean, damp cloth and repeat if marks reappear when fabric is dry. So it's saying, again, try it with a little bit of water and see if it comes off. Now this one is a friction pen, and it looks just like a normal pen, but if you mark something on your fabric and put an iron on it, it disappears. These both tell you remove them with water before you ever put the iron on them. So make sure that whatever type of marking tool that you purchase, that it's something that you're comfortable with and you'll know how to follow those directions. Okay, you're going to need some needles. Now maybe you purchased some already, but we didn't talk about needles prior. So I wanted to show you this case. On the back, it has a drawing and tells you the names of the types of needles, which helps identify how you'll use these needles. And in this case, the second one over says sharps, and this one says sharps. They're different sizes. So again, I suggest when you take this off, put this to the side, snap a picture with the two together, or you really don't have to take it off the paper. Just keep it together so that you have that information. It's really valuable. This one also comes with a needle threader. Just an extra option that's helpful. So you're going to need a hand sewing needle so that we can close the opening in our tie. Also, if you recall, we used some masking tape on our last project on our sewing machine so that we could know where to sew straight. Our seam allowances were straight from the needle out if it was more than the 5/8 or 6/8 shown on your machine on your needle plate. So if you have, this is the leftovers of a big roll of masking tape, I just keep it with my sewing supplies. So those are the items that you will need, you'll find handy when you're making Project 2, our apron. Now, I said I'd give you a preview of our next two projects. Since we're planning ahead, I thought I'd show you. Project 3 is a skirt with a facing and a zipper. So you're learning how to make a facing with your apron, and now you're using that facing technique on the waist of a skirt. You'll also see facings at the neck of a blouse. And so those are different places, areas that we use a facing. So it's a way to finish off the edge here of our skirt waist. We're going to learn how to make a dart, and we're going to learn how to put in a zipper. So that's what we're making with Project 3. So when you start looking for a pattern, I know we're jumping ahead, but you're looking for something that does not have a waistband. It just uses a facing. And in this case, it has a side zipper. When you look in the back, you'd know it had a center back zipper if the zipper was showing in our picture. But in this case, it's not. It's not showing at all, so we know the zipper is on the side. All right, so this is an example of what we're making for Project 3. In Project 4, we're increasing our skill level even more. We're going to make a top that has bias tape at the neckline. So it's nice and smooth around the neck, but they're using bias tape. It has set-in sleeves. So the sleeves have a smooth edge between the sleeve and the top. And then they also have a ruffle. The bottom of a sleeve has a ruffle added so that you can learn how to gather. So those are the projects that we have coming in the future days. I look forward to seeing you in episode 9, where we'll begin pinning our pattern onto our fabric.